Now let's talk about digital certificates and digital signatures. Digital certificates are essentially electronic files that are generated by a third party, or you can even generate one for yourself. And what they are is these electronic files contain certain information that identify you as the user. They can also be used by companies or even governments or other entities to identify themselves for particular purposes, or for things like generating code, signing code, email, file encryption, so forth. But essentially they're used to verify the identity of the user. Now what they contain is several pieces of information, but in particular they have your public key. We talked about public and private key technologies earlier, or PKI, and this digital certificate is what has the public key in it. That's what you send to people, this digital certificate, and that's how they get your public key. Now this public key of course matches up with the user's private key. The user gets that and no one else gets it. But these keys are mathematically related, but they're not identical. Now self-generated certificates are of somewhat limited use. You can generate your own. In fact, using PGP or OpenPGP or GPG or whatever, you can generate your own certificate. But unless you have a way of verifying the identity of the person who generates their own certificate, it could be anyone. I could generate one for myself that says I'm Bill Gates or whatever. So you put very little trust in a self-generated certificate unless you're among a small group of friends or whatever. Now, most of the time when we get a digital certificate, it's generated by a third party, a trusted third party, a certificate authority it's called. Now, some of these third-party certificate providers, some examples include VeriSign and Thought and several other companies out there. And basically they go through a very rigorous process of verifying your identity. When you apply for a digital certificate, you can buy one from them. They require all kinds of proofs of identity. Then they generate a digital certificate and send it to you. You get a public key and a private key, and you can put out the public key from the certificate to anyone who wants it. Now you can get digital certificates for a wide variety of uses. Again, companies can use them to digitally sign code so that you know that the code or software that you got from them is authentic, that they did put it out, that it contains no viruses and so forth, whatever. You can also get the digital certificates for encryption, digitally signing emails. You can get digital certificates for a wide variety of things. Now speaking of digital signatures, a digital signature is created for a message, for a digital message such as an email or even a document, an electronic document, basically so you can sign it with this digital signature and so that the person receiving it will know that you in fact did send it. Okay? Basically this assures that the message was sent by the person who claims to have sent it. If I, for example, send a message and I sign it as Bobby Rogers and I have a valid digital certificate that can be traced back to me, that can be verified by a third party, then we can reasonably assure that I am in fact the person who sent it, that it wasn't just some guy down the street who faked a certificate and sent it. Digital certificates provide for something that in the security world we call non-repudiation. Non-repudiation means that if a person signs with a digital certificate, they can't later go back and say, that wasn't me, I didn't send it. Because basically what happens is the person who signs it is encrypting that message with their private key. And if you remember from our discussion about public and private key technology, if one key encrypts, only the other one can decrypt. So if something is encrypted with my private key, only the public key can decrypt it. And since everyone will have the public key, anyone can decrypt it. So the issue there is not really a matter of confidentiality since anyone can decrypt it. It's more of a measure of, since I'm the only one who has the private key, I'm the only one who could have encrypted it, so that means that it can be traced back to me. So that's how digital signatures actually work, is basically the sender encrypts something with the private key and anyone who decrypts it with the public key knows that only the sender could have sent it. Now most email programs and other software such as browsers like Internet Explorer and so forth can support digital certificates. And again, we use them for a wide variety of purposes.